Welcome back, everyone. As promised, I'm going to show you how to use Interactive Brokers Raw API in order to pull data from it. Um, and with this, you basically, by the time you finish this, you're going to basically understand how to utilize their API. You can even go through the documentation that I have set up here, and figure out how to place orders and stuff. So we're going to start with just simply pulling stock data information. The reason we're going to start with this is because I don't want you guys to place any trades. I just want you guys to just get set up with how to use the raw API and you can build on it from there. All right. So it's just going to be something super simple to kind of get you introduced to this platform as well as how to use their API, their raw API. Now, there is easier ways to do this. You can utilize wrappers that are on the market today. If you're in my Algo World community, I already introduced you to the best interactive brokers API wrapper that makes this 10 times easier. So if you want to learn more about that, you can join my community. Otherwise, you can use the raw API. Now, why is the raw API more preferred than utilizing a wrapper? Latency. You get all of your data sent, well, you get all of your scripts sent directly to Interactive Broker's server, as opposed to dealing with a third-party wrapper that can probably slow down the process of like placing and setting your orders through Interactive Brokers. Remember, the raw API is directly to Interactive Brokers. The wrapper just makes it easier for you to send those to the API itself. So that's why most people are going to say that they prefer to work with the raw API as opposed to using a wrapper. I say make it easier. Like, let's keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss. So that's why I would prefer to use a wrapper. But I still want to show you guys this so you guys can understand how to utilize either or. You can decide later on which one you want to choose. All right. So the great thing you need to do whenever you're working with any new platforms, pull up the documentation. Matter of fact, not just platforms, any new library with Python or any library with programming in general, pull up the documentation. You should not need to really watch any of these videos. The documentation tells you how to do all of this. It's all here. Um, Literally, even with examples of codes of how to put it together, it's all here. So that's what we're going to have here. I actually have one set up over here to explain how I'm going to be doing something else. Now, we're going to be sticking with stock data for this video. And the reason we're doing that is because I'm pretty sure most of you guys are new to Interactive Brokers, so you don't have the necessary subscriptions, the market data subscriptions needed to pull other data. So we're going to stick with stocks because that one is actually free. So once you sign up for an account, you automatically have access to the market data for stocks. So we're just going to do pulling stock data. But if you want to do options or so, you would need to sign up for a subscription for that, futures as well. Any other data aside from stock, I think Forex is actually free. Forex is free. If I'm not mistaken. Forex is free. So stock and Forex are free. Everything else you're gonna need to pay a subscription fee. I'm paying $15 a month and I get both. So yeah. Now, first thing first, you need to log into your Trader Workstation account. I'm blocking some stuff here because it's my account. I don't want you guys to see crap. But you need to log into your Trader Workstation account. And once you get there, when you sign up for Interactive Brokers, you will have to download Trader Workstation. This is where you place your trades. Like, this is pretty much this is like TD Ameritrade's platform, Thinkorswim down here. This is Interactive Brokers version. So you would need to actually have access to this account. You would actually need to have access to this platform, which again, when you sign up, you will have to download and you will be able to place your trades through here manually. But to use their API, you need to come in here. So what you do is you go to File, go to Global Configurations. And when you go to Global Configurations, you're going to see this. You're going to go down to where it says API, then click Settings. And from here, you need to do this. Enable ActiveX and Socket clients. Uncheck read-only API because we actually want to produce things with this. And also keep mind of the socket port. So 7496 stands for a live account. If you're using Interactive Brokers paper trading account, it would be 7497. Please keep that in mind. So I'm using a live account right now for this demonstration. So please note that. All right. And with that, once you do that, you can click apply and then okay. I already have it all set up. So now we can go into writing some code. Let's go. So it's over here. All right. I'm going to be using Spider, as you can tell. The reason I'm using Spider is because they have a section over here in their panel. Like I showed you before, it's great for plotting charts. They also have a variable explorer And that just lets you see all the variables of your program that you're running. So you can kind of see them. You can see the type, which is if it's string, if it's a Boolean, if it's a number, integer, float. You get to see all of your variables here, which I think is super duper helpful. And you can even update them here as well too. So like if you don't want to update it in the code, you can update it in the variable explorer. That's pretty dope. And that's why I think I'm going to be sticking with Spyder for these type of programs. You can use anything you want. You can use Jupyter Notebook. Again, they're all pretty much the same. I'm just saying because I personally like that ability to change my variables here. You probably are not familiar with that. So again, use Jupyter Notebook. Don't use Jupyter Notebook, use PyCharm, use whatever you want. This is just for me. Every IDE pretty much does the same. It just does little things differently. For me, it's just this. You probably have no idea what that is. If you don't worry about it. Use Jupyter Notebook, use something else. It does not matter. All right. So let's get started. All right. Okay, let's go. So we're going to import some of the things we need here. So from IB API dot clients, gonna import client, the e client. There we go. And I'm just gonna copy this because there's just like a few other things that we're gonna need. So from client, what else we're gonna need? We're also going to, I think that's it for the most part. Actually, I need to now go to wrapper. And it's where we put E wrapper. Thank you, autofill. Don't you love autofill? It just helps out. Next thing you know, you need is the contract. Thank you. And we can put, additionally, what you also can do, you can just literally use the star. If you don't want to type out e client, e wrapper, e contract, you just put a star. Or you can do IB API and just put import and just put star, and this will literally import all of these. You don't have to specify client, wrapper, or contract. I just found that it kind of makes the program a little bit slower. It's a lazy way of doing it, but it kind of makes it slower. So if you don't know, the star just means everything. So it said instead of like specifying each one, you could say like import everything. That just makes it a little bit easier if you want to be lazy. I don't feel like being lazy right now. I want to teach you guys correctly, so do that. All right. Next, we're going to import date time. Spelled import. Import date time. That's how you basically that's a Python library for playing with days. So like if I want to specify a specific date, datetime kind of formats correctly for the program to understand it. You're always going to use datetime for that. Now we're going to import my favorite libraries, pandas as PD, import numpy as NP. And we're going to import something called threading. And I'm going to explain it a little bit now. I'm going to go pull up the documentation and I'm going to explain it there in a second. All right. If you want to learn about threading, this is a great link. I'm going to have it linked below. Geek for Geeks is also perfect place if you want to learn a lot of different programming and other things of that nature. Threading, in other words, a thread is a sequence of instructions within a program that can execute independently of the code. Basically, what that means is it doesn't have to wait. So typically, a code works from top to bottom. Threading allows you to run things independent of the top to bottom thing. They'll run on their own, essentially. So it's just helpful when you're trying to deal with APIs and deal with different processes in APIs. All right. So we got that out the way. So we're going to need threading specifically for this because we're pulling data from API. So it just makes it a lot easier on us as programmers. And we're also going to import time. And now here's what we need to do. I actually got to charge my laptop. That's freaking crazy. Where am I at? 9%. Okay, I got enough time. All right. we got to set up a class object. Whenever you're utilizing the raw API, you got to set up a class object. I'm going to call this trade. I'm going to call this stock. stock. And this is going to be your base class. So whenever you're utilizing this, I hate using classes. I always state this. I freaking hate using classes. Unfortunately, you're going to need to use a class here. With utilizing this API, you're going to need to use a class. And I'm going to call it the base class because this is the class you're going to use whenever you're running Interactive Brokers API. You're going to be using this class. So I'm just going to show you exactly how you set up. So this is going to be the base class. It's just going to take in the eClient and eWrapper. All right. And again, now we got to, if you ever ran a class before, you have to do the initializer function, the definition int. That always takes self, and that refers to the class name. This is just basics of like utilizing classes in Python. So let's do that. Let me sure. Okay, there we go. I was like, why is it not highlighted? And don't worry, it's this is gonna be your base class. So this is gonna always look the same. Every time you run this, it's gonna look the same. So I feel like this is very, very helpful in remembering. You're gonna always see this in any program you're running with Interactive Brokers API. It's always gonna start off like this. All right, eClient.int, self, cool. So this is literally always going to be the same in every Interactive Brokers or API you're going to run. It's always going to look like this. So just keep this in mind. Everything else is going to be stuff that you add in yourself, but it's always going to start off like this. It's always going to look like this. This is what I'm going to call your base class. All right. Now, let's get the ticker data. Let me see. Do I have enough battery power to continue? Oh, shit. All right, let me get my charger real quick. I'll be right back. I'm gonna pause this. All right, I am back. All right, now let's actually charge. Is it charging? And it's charging. Awesome. Now we're going to create another function within this class. So when you use a class, you're using a class to create an object that does specific things. If you are going to get into trading script, one of the greatest things is to create a class for a trading bot. So it'd be like class.trading bot, and you would set it up similarly. So I guess in a way, you're going to be learning how to utilize a class here too. Right. So next thing we're going to do is get let's see, bar data. Nah, let's call it bar. Nah, because that might be confusing. Let's go bar data. I like to just make things simple. And that's going to take self. Whenever you are putting a function in a class, you always have to start it with self. Self is always going to be what it is. And we're going to do order ID. And that's going to be an integer. We're just going to set that as an integer. Let's make sure I just put that right. Right. And now we're going to get into our time data. All right. So we're going to do date. So we're going to create a variable called now, and that's just going to specify now. Date time dot date time. Additionally, I could have just put import datetime as datetime, but there's a reason I didn't do that. You're typically going to always see that with datetime because there's another module called datetime that I'm actually referencing right now, second datetime. And that's going to be now. Boom. That's now. Next, we're going to set year, like what year equals. So we're going to create a variable called year, and it's going to be now.year. And next, we got to do month. And you guessed it, it's going to be now dot month. All right. And we're pretty much done with that. And now we need to set up the contract. Let's see. Let's go over to this. Contracts. Okay, requesting contract details. Okay, here we go. So that's something documentation is so powerful because it shows you how to request contract details. We're about to do it right now. I just want to show you how it looks. So you're going to see me put it together right now. I just want to show you how it looks. But again, keep the documentation up. All right. So contract is going to equal contract, and that is the contract we called it there. Do that. And we got to now do the symbol dot symbol equal empty string. We're going to fill that in later. Contracts dot security type. So NC type. And for this one, it's going to be STK, and that means stock. For options is OPT. So for options is OPT. For futures is FUT. But again, you need to have the market data subscription in order to use that. So it's not going to be helpful if you don't have that. All right. Contract dot exchange that equals. You could leave it as smart. Smart means that smart routing, and basically it's going to figure out what the best exchange for this contract is. You can specify each exchange, but I like to leave it as smart. Let Interactive Brokers API figure it out. Because say they change it and you don't know, you're going to be screwed. So leave it as smart routing, so it'll just figure it out itself. Now, contract currency, of course, is going to be USD, and that's US dollar. If you're somewhere else, change it. Something like that. And next, we're going to need to request historical data. And as you can see, it's IB API eClient.request historical data. In this case, eClient is a part of the class, so we can refer to it as self. So we can do self.request historical data, and that's going to be the function we're going to use next. Self, because again, eClient is already there, initialized as self. All right, self.rec historical data. There we go. And you see, I mean, this is okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep it a bean with you. I'm gonna keep it a bean. Yes, Spider helped me figure out the things that we need to specify within this function, but every IDE does this. All right, I'm gonna delete them because I'm like, I don't want to like jump the gun for you guys real quick. All right, but yeah, they helped me. All right. So everything that they showed there, I'm just gonna specify myself because we already created them. So we're gonna do order ID, contracts, which we specified above here. Gonna leave an empty string. So like contract end date time. Gonna make that an empty string. What's next? Duration. We're going to do 1 day. So it's gonna be 1D, capital D. So as you see me filling it out, the great thing is that Interactive Brokers, this is like putting, Spider is putting everything that the parameters are set here, and I'm just filling them in. So we do 1 day. What's next? Bar size setting, and that's gonna be, we're gonna do 1 hour. So we get like 1 hour data. Next, what to show, and we're gonna do trades. Next, want to show use RTH. So I looked through the documentation. It says set that as 0. It's an integer. So we're gonna set it as 0. Format date. Yes. So formatting date, just press 1. It's in the documentation. It just kind of keeps the date object clean for you. Always use 1 for that. And keep up to date, and that's a Boolean. So you have to return true or false. So we're gonna put true for this. And lastly, it's going to be tag value list. We're just going to put an empty list. All right. All right. And now we're going to create another function. And this is just going to be, it's going to be a function for us, historical data. and that's just going to take in self rec ID, and we're going to take in bar, and that's going to be the bar data. Right. We're going to print F. You're going to do an F string right here, and we're just going to put historical data. And because we're using the F string, we can input a variable that we're going to create. Bar. All right. Let me see something. And that's going to be the bar here. What's going on? Apologies, my computer was tweaking. What the hell is that? All right, and lastly, we're going to need to create one more thing. I'm just going to copy and paste because I'm pretty lazy. So we're going to do date end. And this is just going to allow us to specify the start and end dates. So we do rec ID. We're going to keep these the same, and we're just going to do start and end. And in here, we can do end. Just want to like let it be known like once we reach the end of it. And then we can set up the start. We can have a print when it's going to be start and end times. So let's do another F string. And we're going to specify start. And comma end, and this is going to be right. Oops, I did not spell end like that, buddy. Again, so it's going to be taken from this function up here. And from there, I think this class object is good. Just make sure everything lines up. Yeah, that was a little, I like to, again, keep all your functions lined up. Like, again, it wasn't lined up correctly. Okay, so now we can get out of the class object. The hard work is over, guys. And now we can actually call the app, and the app is going to be the class name up here. And then we're going to push it like that. Next, we now need to set up the connection to the API. Connect. Remember I told you about setting up the settings in here? Well, we're going to be using them right now. Lastly, I was going to do app.run. We're not going to run it yet. We just got to set up the connection details. So first, we're going to need to set up our local host IP address, which is always going to be the same. It's going to be 127.0.0.1. So local host IP address. If you didn't know your local host IP address, you now know it. As a programmer, you should know this by heart. Well, now you do. Next, you need to set up the port. Now, the port is the one I was telling you about. If you're using your live account, I don't recommend that. But if you're using it, it's going to be 7496. If you're using a paper trading account, it'd be 7497. So I would typically recommend use a paper trading account, so it'll be 7497. But since I'm using my live account, I'm using 7496. And you got to set up a client ID, and you have to change this. Every time you run this program, you have to change the client ID. It could be as short or as long as you want. I'm gonna start with 193. And if I run it again, I would do 194 and continue from there, or make it 19. You can make it 19, you can make it 12. It doesn't matter. You just can't use the same one. There is a script I show in AlgoWorld to kind of like create a random number here so that it automatically always generates a random number so you don't have to keep changing it. Check AlgoWorld if you want to learn that. Let's see. I think I used 193 before, so let's do 178. All right. Let's run this program, see what happens. Okay, it's running over here. Oh crap! I just realized I didn't put in a symbol. I said let's do that later. Let's do Amazon. Let's do Amazon. I apologize. That's why I'm like, wait, why is it not running? Crap. Because I ran it for a second time, I actually have to change this. 74. I actually have to change this. Remember, I told you every time you run it, you have to change it. Crap. Sorry about that. It took forever. Jesus Christ. But as you can see, here are the values, the historical data, and the open, high, low, close, volume. See if I can spread this out more. And also the start and end, the average, the bar count, and pretty much all of the stock data is here. All right. So I want you guys to play around with this, read through the documentation, see what else you can create. You can also, if you get the market data subscriptions, you can get options data as well. And just see basically what you can do. If you want to create a stock trading app based on this, you could. All right, you can actually look into some order fields in here. Order limitations, order class reference. And you basically can just go through here and just kind of go through the order properties like order types, limit price, etc., and build a full-on trading application specifically for this. Just use this as like the base and just build upon it. All right. So again, want to learn more about this, learn about an easier wrapper that can make all of this simple. You go to AlgoWorld, check it out there. But this is a good starting point for you guys. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. Sign up for Interactive Brokers. It's the best broker. I'm not sponsored by them, but it definitely should. Perfect place to get started if you really want to get serious with algo trading. All right. So if you guys learn a lot, see you guys next video. Peace.